an earthquake update. I want to take a look here at a pattern that I'm seeing along this region, up through the middle of the United States to the East Coast, out to this ridge line. And as you can see here, we have several mid-range, above mid-range quakes that have struck in this area. Now, I bring this up because here recently we had witnessed a decent quake strike right up here off the coast of Maryland. It was pretty much out of nowhere. And the last big quake we've seen outside of that was the one that struck in Virginia that many people felt for many states around when that hit. It even cracked the monument there in Washington when it happened. Well, here in the past few days, we've seen ongoing activity from around the New Madrid, the Tennessee area, down into Texas, on both flanks of Texas, both sides here. Now we have the 5.8 that just struck down here in Mexico. And when I start to see activity on this ridge, that tells me, okay, start paying attention, watching, see if anything happens here from the Serpent Heads all the way up to Iceland. This is the areas where we see a lot of earthquake activity associated with patterns and swarms once they pick up. And in the past, most of the time when we see some activity on these ridges, you start to see a little more somewhere else along that line, whether it's going to be up here, down here, or out here in this region. Now, we've seen quakes strike in the Jamaica region, Haiti region, and within this area right here, which is also fairly rare. Then we've seen them move into the Colombia, Venezuela region, and also some rare quakes on the eastern side over here of Brazil. So in terms of kind of a shift away from what we're used to seeing as ring of fire earthquakes and activity, primarily along the west coast of the Americas, here recently there has been somewhat of a small shift to the east, where we do see a pattern where quakes are growing in size and magnitude and popping up more in this area, when this area is normally more quiet, so to speak. But just to look here at some of the activity around the Americas. Now, with this happening, you could start to see quakes popping up in odd places. Keep that in mind. I will update if we see any other activity, but really the rest of the globe rather quiet right now, from the spots where we're normally seeing activity around Japan or up here around Russia. Indonesia, for the most part, pretty quiet. Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, quiet, all the way down into New Zealand, which has been extremely quiet for quite some time. I do expect that when New Zealand releases with some earthquakes this next time around, there will be a decent charge. A good example of that was just yesterday or so. There was a 6.7, 6.8 that struck down here in the Chile region. As you can see, nothing there now. It's been sitting there building energy for some time. In the past, it could let loose big quakes and it could swarm for a long time. Right now, it's almost like it's building energy. And when it does that, all it has to do is let loose of one decent quake like it did yesterday, and it can cause significant damage. So, Easter Island, another area to watch before activity pops off over here, all the way up in here through Guatemala, El Salvador, and these regions. There's a plate right here that gets pinched all the time. But that is an update in terms of earthquake activity. Going to leave a link. Make sure to follow me on Twitter for more. This has been Dabu7. Much love, y'all.